Shalom, family. This is Judah. Exodus 23, verse 13. What does it really mean? People think that it's a crime, according to our Creator, to mention other gods. That's a total misconception based on complete misunderstanding. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is I had a young man on this channel who attempted to correct me according to me mentioning Jesus in my lessons. So I decided, well, maybe I need to let them see, and so that they get a much clearer understanding why I do it. Now, this person never stopped to think they speak English on a daily basis, meaning they're spitting out curses unknowingly every day. Okay, now this guy didn't mean any harm, but before you check someone, you should start with yourself. I know what I'm doing. So let me break this misconception down and clear it up once and for all, that it doesn't mean what people think it means. Exodus chapter 23 and verse 13. Let's start with the explanation of the meaning. The Creator expands on the concept of the Sabbath to include a Sabbath year. The Israelites were to be very diligent in the keeping the Sabbath day as well as the Sabbath year. And they were strongly warned to completely eliminate any conversation about other gods. Now think about what was just said here. This means while you are serving me, your Creator, there shouldn't be any reason that you shall entertain any thoughts of any other God outside of me, especially during these feast days. And that was happening. That was the whole purpose of that commandment. And in the fourth commandment, the Creator commanded the Israelites to observe the Sabbath day. In verse 10 and 11, he added the keeping of the Sabbath year. Following the pattern of the Sabbath day, the Israelites were to sow their land for 6 years and gather in its yield. Verse 10, then on the seventh year, you shall let it rest and lie fallow. So let me explain what the word fallow means. It is a farmland that is left unsown for a period of 1 year. It is done this way in order for the soil to replenish itself, providing the nutritional nutrients that it needs in order to be able to produce the next crop for the next season. Not only would it allow the soil to replenish the nutrients, but it would also set aside a time to allow the needy of your people to eat. The provision also stipulated that whatever they leave the beasts of the field may eat. Thus the poor and the beasts that performed the work of the harvest was given provision to eat from the fallow ground. This law was designed not only to cause the people to reflect on his creation, but also to graciously provide rest and refreshment to the poor and needy of society, as well as caring for the animals. The people were to apply this law to their vineyard and their olive grove. This Sabbath year law is discussed in more detail in Leviticus chapter 25. Take your time and check Leviticus chapter 25 out. It is worth noting that the Creator does not explain the benefit of letting land lie fallow by teaching soil science, such as the importance of nitrogen, just as he did not explain the benefits of sanitation by explaining germs. The Creator's ways are higher than our ways. You must keep that in mind. Some things he explains and other things, he asks us to trust him. When Israel was exiled to Babylon, the land enjoyed its Sabbath. Second Chronicles chapter 36, verse 21. Apparently for 490 years. Israel failed to keep this statute. So Yah set the time of the exile at 70 years, in part to enforce this neglected statute. Now, verse 12 and 13 restates the fourth commandment concerning the Sabbath day. It states that 6 days you are to do your work, but on the seventh day you shall cease from labor. Once again, the reason given here was so that your ox, your donkey may rest, and the son of your female slave, as well as your stranger, may refresh themselves. Verse 12 is significant that so much consideration was given to the ones who did hard work for their master, the beasts who worked the fields, and the servants who toiled the various ways in the household. Plus, the stranger or unassimilated immigrant was given the same consideration. The statute came with a warning in the next verse. The verse says, "Now concerning everything which I have said to you, be on your guard." Now remember, he's tying the Sabbath day and your thoughts on that Sabbath day to these other gods. So pay close attention. Now concerning everything which I have said to you, everything, that includes the Sabbath days and the Sabbath years, nor be on your guard, and do not mention the name of other gods during your feast days or any other time where you show homage or favoritism toward that God, nor let them be heard from your mouth. Don't praise them. You can mention them, but don't praise them. Don't seek favor from them. You have one creator. Let that be your focus. This verse speaks of not associating with any other God with the keeping of the Sabbath day or year. It is the creators alone, the ruler, the creator, who redeemed Israel out of bondage in Egypt. For someone to mention other gods implies that they were thinking about them and likely participating in their perverse activities, such as child sacrifice and many other things, when they should be concentrating on the Creator and what He has commanded for His people. No other God should be in part. No other God should be part of the people's thoughts because they are in a covenant relationship with the true Creator. The Caesarian Yah, that means ruler. One of the offenses which led Israel into an eventual exile included profaning Yah's Sabbath. Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 24. The Creator graciously gave his covenant people these things, and they were to serve Him in gratitude. If they live in this self-governing fashion, serving one another and providing justice without partiality, they will be immensely blessed. This is always the pattern of conditional covenants. Each party has obligations that must be met or kept, and there are consequences for breaking this agreement. Israel was granted unconditional acceptance as the Creator's people by His grace. The promised land was granted to Abraham's descendants as a reward for Abraham's obedience. Genesis chapter 15. But in order to remain and prosper in the land, Israel had to keep their covenant with their Creator by following His commands. Now, verse 10 You shall sow your land for 6 years and gather in its yield. Verse 11, but on the seventh year you shall let it rest and lie fallow, dormant, no farming, no plowing the land. Leave it alone for 1 year, so that the needy of your people may eat, and whatever they leave, the beasts of the field may eat. You are to do the same with your vineyard and your olive grove. But do not, while you are engaged in this activity, do not focus on the nation's gods. Verse 12, excuse me. For 6 days you are to do your work, but on the seventh day you shall cease from labor, so that your ox and your donkey may rest, and the son of your female slave as well as your stranger may refresh themselves. Now concerning, read this one more time, concerning everything which I have said to you, be on your guard and do not mention the name of other gods. He's putting this right with the other commands for a purpose, for a reason. Now, if this is not good enough for you, so we're going to see, was there any other prophets that mentioned the names of other gods? And I should only need one, because if one did it, others did too. Elijah was one of them. Isaiah was another. But let's deal with this one. 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 20 to 40. The prophets of Baal defeated. So Ahab sent to all the people of Israel and gathered the prophets together at Mount Carmel. And Elijah came near to all the people and said, how long will you go limping between two different opinions? If the Creator is the true Creator, follow him. Here you go. But if Baal, what did Elijah say? But if Baal, then follow him. Do you see Elijah mention Baal? I could bring Isaiah's scripture too to show you he also mentioned Lucifer. And the people did not answer him a word. Then Elijah said to the people, even I only am left to prophet of the Creator. But Baal's prophets are 450 men. But Baal's, that's what came out of Elijah's mouth. So when you hear people tell you, oh, you shouldn't say Jesus, you shouldn't mention the Egyptian gods, it all depends on how you mention them. It all depends on the reason why you mention them. If you're doing that in the favor of these pagan gods, then yes, you have committed a crime. If you are doing this at the time of your feast, yes, you are breaking the law. That's what he means. So when you do your study, don't just read the scripture, read the context. There's a word in Exodus 23 and verse 13. That word is invoke. Look that word up, and I tell you all the time, don't just read it, research it. These words are there for a reason. If you found that word in invoke, look it up, you'll see what it means. Shalom.